Get the fuck out the house. Fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out the house. I got in shape and I made $18,573. Not just because of a job, an industry, a strategy. There was just a different version of me walking into every situation, and I want to show you exactly how I did that. And once you make the connection to getting in shape and making more money, you cannot unsee it. First, let me tell you about the version that existed before any of this. I used to be the fat guy that made the fat guy jokes. What that means is I would anticipate the fat guy jokes that were coming my way. If someone pulled out a camera, I would be like, oh, watch out, I may not fit in the camera. If I was taking off my shirt, I'd be like, oh, watch out, as I take off my shirt, my belly's gonna poke you. Or, oh, watch out as it jiggles, stuff like that. I would bring attention to it before someone could bring attention to it externally. Like that, I could at least play it off as camera. I could have a big laugh about it with everyone else, play it off cool, and move forward. And that painted a picture of confidence when it was never about confidence. It was just an armor, because at least like that, I could control the narrative. If I could control the narrative, nobody else could say it. Nobody could catch me off guard. I was always one step ahead. I was always smart about it. And I was so smart, so slick about it that at points, I even convinced myself that I was fine. But I knew every time it was me alone with my thoughts and me alone with a mirror. I looked at it and I saw the reflection of someone who failed himself. Now, yes, there were some more dramatic moments in which me being fat drew more attention and more emotional impact to me, but there was never really just a one singular moment. There was no rock bottom. It was just kind of always like that. I always knew I could do better. I always knew a change had to be made. I always knew that I was living and operating below my capabilities. And because of that, I knew I wasn't doing enough. I knew change had to be made. But still, I found every sophisticated excuse, every rational excuse to make me not do it, to allow me to slack off and not have to deal with it in any way, shape, or form. And you see, I thought my body was the problem, but my body was just the evidence. The actual issue was the pattern behind everything, was the lack of discipline, was the procrastination, was the postponing, was the starting and quitting halfway through, was the avoiding the hard conversations. It was the gap between what I said I would do and what I actually did. And the thing is, these aspects weren't just showing up on my body. My body was just the most evident one, but it was showing up in my life, in my relationships, in how I did work, in how I performed, and how I did so many things that I didn't even realize these aspects were negatively accumulating and impacting me in the worst possible way, shape, and form. I mean, damn, there's opportunities that I would rule myself out of before they could rule me out of them. I would neglect myself. I would reject myself before anyone else could, because at least I didn't get their validation or their lack of validation, because I wasn't confident enough in myself to actually be rejected. I feel like if I had a rejection, I was like 1 or 2 rejections away from actually breaking down, because the rejections would just add on, would just confirm, would just make me deal and confront the fact that of everything that I already knew, but I didn't want to face. You see, I thought I had a body problem. I thought I had a discipline problem. I thought I had a relationship problem. I thought I had a career problem even, but it wasn't. I just had one problem, but my body was the most evident place in which it was manifesting. So what actually broke that cycle, it wasn't a plan, it wasn't motivation, it was a training session. It was a training session in which I had made one crucial decision. You see, there was this training session in which I don't remember the exact date, but I remember the exact feeling, in which I had told myself that I was gonna go through with it. I was gonna finish that leg day. I was gonna push through no matter what, exactly as I told myself I was gonna do. And as I was doing it, I started to notice and fall into the same pattern of, oh, I already did enough, or oh, this is getting really uncomfortable, maybe it's not good for me. My mind started to pick out all those excuses, all those reasonable excuses to say and to explain why that day wasn't a good day to finish, to explain why that day was a day that it was acceptable to quit halfway through. But I didn't. I pushed through. I continued. I saw my limit. I faced it and I said, this is not my limit. I am meant for so much more. This is just my limit of the comfort. This is the limit of where I will stay at so that I can still feel like I did something but not actually grow. And that day, I decided to not look at that limit and shatter it and push through it. And then when I did, I saw that my real limit was miles and miles away. But you see, every other time in my life, I stopped. Every other time in my life, I would have quit. I would have listened to my brain. I would have listened to the emotion. I would have listened to the fact that I wasn't motivated, that I didn't have enough of a structure, that I didn't have enough proof that what I was doing was actually going to have a return and was actually going to work. But I finished it. Not because I had some extra motivation, not because I'd already built all the discipline, not because it was automatic or a habit, but because I was so disgusted with myself. I hated the way I was living life so much to the point that it didn't matter how hard I had to push, because anything, and I mean anything, would have been better than staying how I was, than remaining the same, than the pain of looking at myself and feeling disappointed and feeling this yuck, this feeling of disgust with myself. And that was the first time that I finished it and something changed. Not my body, because it was just one training session, but I realized that I could do hard things. And most importantly, I realized that I could keep my word, that I had the power to finish what I started. And that's the thing, it didn't just stay in the gym. It couldn't just stay in the gym. Once I stopped listening to my limit, once I stopped listening to what my mind was telling me to keep me comfortable, I just started to excel in every other area of my life. I stopped procrastinating. I started sending those emails that I'd been postponing. I started completing those jobs. I started completing those projects that I was leaving at 80%, that I was doing up until 80% and saying, okay, that's good enough. I'll submit that. I started to do and finish the things that I told myself that I was going to finish. And then when I started my own business, I raised the prices. I confidently raised the prices, not because I had so much evidence or I had so much social proof or there was so much trust, but because I knew what this was worth. Because I knew that what I was giving, I had so much confidence that what I was doing for someone could help them, to the point that the price is just the price of commitment and nothing else, because everything that is going to be in return is going to pay out 10 times that. It's going to come out so much more worthy than the initial investment. So with no problem, I started with high prices and I raised them and I maintained them like that. And now all of this was because I had evidence that every single day that I went to the gym and I built myself, evidence that every single day I said no to the cookies. I said no to staying in bed. I said no to watching a movie instead of working out. Every single day, I was stacking proof. I was stacking evidence that what I set myself out to do, I commit to and I deliver. All of this that you're seeing right now, my confidence, my charisma, the way I'm able to just help people, the way I'm confident that I can help people, the way I can put content out there and not care. All of this was built in the gym. And that's how I made $18,537 from the gym. Now, the gym didn't make me money, but it made me the kind of person who does. And this is the part that so many people don't understand or feel misconcepted in. I unlocked my potential in the gym through fitness, not because I got a better body, but because of the person I had to become to have this body, the discipline I had to build, the hours I had to put in, the sacrifices I had to make, the comfort I had to postpone, the amount of times I had to say no when I genuinely wanted to say yes, when every ounce of me was dragging myself to say yes, do it, give in, don't Postpone it. Just do it now. It's okay. One time is okay. The amount of times I had to shut my mind off to be able to not listen and not give in to temptation, because I knew that I had a goal. I knew that I had a purpose, and I knew that I had to act in alignment to that purpose. On top of that, the belief it takes to be able to go to the gym for months, not knowing if you have the right strategy, not knowing if you have the right approach, not knowing if what you're doing is actually working, if it's actually going to have a return, if in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months you are going to look the way you want to look, you're going to feel the way you want to feel. That is a level of delusional self-belief that you need. And that's exactly what the gym gives you, is that the gym gives you that moment in which you kind of need to take a gamble on yourself, in which you kind of need to say, fuck it, I don't care, I want to get better, I know that this is going to get better. Even if you don't know, even if you don't have confirmation, you believe it. You know it because you believe it so hard. And then you start to see the outputs. And that's where the gym is so differentiating to every other area of your life. There's areas in your life in which making money, in which you're starting a business, in which you're hiring people, maybe not everything is landing. You're putting in so much input. You're putting in the hours. You're putting in the work. You're apparently with the right strategy, but nothing is clicking. Nothing is moving forward. Stuff is a bit stagnated. Stuff is a bit plateauing. Then at some point, it will exponentially increase. The body is the one point in your life in which it compounds. It doesn't just exponentially grow. There is a direct correlation to input and output. But that input and output is going to compound in interest, and over time it will feel exponential because of you every single day putting in that work. But then you look back at it, you look at yourself, and you see that this was every single day me showing up for myself, was every single day me not doubting myself, or me despite doubting myself doing it either way, was me every single day sticking to the plan, was me every single day sticking to my word and finishing what I said I would finish. And that's exactly why I started online fitness coaching, because I couldn't help but share with everyone else what I had experienced. I couldn't help but get people to the point in which I am now from the point in which I was. I kept looking around and I used to keep seeing the same patterns I used to see in myself. I kept seeing the people being made fun of. I kept seeing the people restarting. I kept seeing the people feeling shame in themselves through a victim lens. Because if you feel shame not through a victim lens, that is the most powerful tool, because it puts pressure on you to perform. But instead, if you feel shame and you're like, oh, I can't do anything about it, it's genetics, the world is just cruel, these are just the society standards that are being input on me and I don't have to live up to them because I'm perfect the way I am. Meanwhile, you look down, you have fat rolls, you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't feel happy, you feel insecure, you don't feel energized, you don't feel anything positive about yourself. And yet you still argue that it is society, that it is the others that are wrong, instead of looking at your actions and blaming yourself, because there is no point whatsoever, even if they are wrong, there's no point in blaming everyone else, because that puts your responsibility out of yourself. That puts your responsibility elsewhere and you can do nothing about it. And that is my least favorite situation to be in, because if it is just happening to me, I can do nothing about it. That just means I'm subjected to everything that is happening and I have no control. I don't want that. I want to be in control. So even if the person is 99% incorrect, I'm going to take that 1%. I'm going to amplify it, expand it, and see, okay, I need to do better. I can do more. I stopped looking at hate and being made fun of and being bullied as just being brought down, and I started seeing it as criticism, as opportunities to highlight what I needed to improve on, rather than just feeling sorry for myself, rather than just feeling like, oh my God, he's so mean, I can't believe he would say that. So what he said that? So what? What are you gonna do about it? It doesn't matter whatever they said. What matters is how you react to it. Are you gonna react to it and call your mom and call your dad and say, oh, he called me fat? Or are you gonna man the fuck up and say, he called me fat? Look at yourself in the mirror, put the ego inside and say, shit, I am fat. And what does that fat mean? That I don't show up for myself, that I'm undisciplined, that I'm being lazy, that I'm not taking care of myself simply because I decide to slack. Not because you can't, because you know you could. You have the time, you know what to do. You just need to take action. The information is out there. The time you cut down 20, 30 minutes of Netflix or YouTube or wanking or looking at yourself in the mirror feeling disappointed and actually doing something about it, and I guarantee you'll find the time. Oh, but my meals, this and that, meal prep. Oh, but I have to order out. Find meals that actually make sense and support your goals. Every excuse you can tell yourself is nothing more than an excuse. It's not a real reason. It's not a real liable cause that impedes you from getting in shape. It's not. It is simply an excuse to keep you comfortable that you've been telling yourself, and that's the same excuse that's been keeping you mediocre and keeping you unhappy, insecure, and unsatisfied with yourself. And if you're in that place where you know that something needs to change, where you know that something has to happen, that you're not living up to the standards that you should be living up to, that you're not living life the way you should be living, you're not even appreciating life the way you're appreciating it. You're not healthy. You're not taking care of yourself. You don't feel energized. You don't anything. Everything is just kind of cruising down, or you're plateaued and you're sick of being in the plateau. If that's you, if you're in that place, I am here to help. It is not shameful to get help. I got a coach when I started, and that was the best move I've ever done because it removes all the guesswork. It doesn't replace the effort that you have to put in, but it does improve the intentional aspects of it. It improves the progress because now you're not going through trial and error and feeling even more demotivated and feeling even more lost and feeling even more stuck. Now you know that you have a successful strategy, and it is now just fully up to you and what you do with that strategy. If that's you, I have a link in the description, or you can text me on Instagram, shred in @it's Marco Fontana. That's my username tag. So you can text me there and we'll actually do something about it. And once you realize that leveling up in the gym means leveling up in life, you will do everything in your power to make sure you show up to the gym tomorrow.